Dragon's curse would have ended with me.
Yeah, but it didn't. So now I need information to make things right again. And you're the only one that can give it to me.
There is no right. You can't change who people are without destroying who they were.
Who says you can't make things better?
You can't play God, son. It must end with me. Just by being here, you may be killing your mother.
I really came into this just hoping that I wouldn't depress you and all of our listeners today with this episode, but this kid just gave his mom lung cancer because he didn't listen to his dad.
Yeah, I mean, you got to listen to your dad there when he's talking to you about time travel and playing God. I mean,
he kind of knows what he's talking about.
You play God, you mess around, you give your mom lung cancer. It's just it's a thing you can't do. She's smoking like a chimney because she's worried about you. But yeah, Drew, I mean, normally we, kind of have something funny to talk about on the intro, make fun of the clip, make fun of the movie, but it's such a depressing movie that what are we going to do? What are we supposed to do with it? What are we supposed to do with this?
I feel sad, man. Like, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I don't know. We'll have to try to keep it upbeat, but there's a lot of really heavy topics in this one.
This poor group of kids, man.
We're gonna offend somebody today. Yeah. That's for sure. So, welcome back. This is episode 111 of the Last Row Podcast. If you're looking for our website, thelastrowpodcast.com. Check us out on the social channels at The Last Row Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you're enjoying the show or you're new to the show, hit the subscribe button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser. Thanks to everyone that left us a 5-star review. If you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving us one. Do it, please.
5 stars too high.
And if you don't, you're dead to me. You're dead to me.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
You better go back in time and redo
just
that.
like Evan Treeborn.
Yeah.
You're dead to me.
Event Reborn. The Butterfly Effect. January 23rd, 2004. Where were you on January 23rd, 2004?
I was in the theater.
Yeah, this was prime movie biz, right, for you guys.
I was in the theater for this one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you were with me, weren't you?
Getting those free movies, man.
Weren't you with me?
Movies, yeah. You don't pay for a movie like Butterfly Effect. We watch it for free.
And then you got it for us when we rented it for free.
Absolutely.
After that too.
I think 2004 was the first year, yeah.
The heyday, right? Back in the heyday.
That I broke into the movie biz, yeah. With a runtime of 1 hour and 53 minutes.
Too high.
Just about right.
Too high.
It's just about right. I was about done with the movie when the movie was done, so I'll say just right.
Too high.
Drama / sci-fi / thriller, directed by Eric, don't call him the best, Bress, and Jay MacGruber. MacGruber. Do you know what these guys did?
I do not.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Literally nothing after this?
I think the one guy went on to write The Final Destination.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of co-directed films on this podcast here, do we?
Yeah, and I think the one guy wrote The Final Destination, and the other guy wrote Final Destination 2.
Yeah.
And that was about it. Really, I mean, this movie might have killed their career.
Is The Final is 6 or 5?
Who knows? Who's counting?
Yeah, well,
Who's counting?
One day we'll do all the...
What number Saw is Saw 3D?
Yeah.
What the final Saw?
Clearly nobody's counting.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah, and I think basically this movie killed these guys' careers, but that's fine. I like the movie, but we'll get into it.
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
IMDb.
IMDb 7.6 out of 10.
It's about right.
It's about right. Maybe
for me.
Too high, but
it's about right for me.
Yeah, Rotten Tomato 34%.
Too low.
I understand, too low, but I get it.
I get it, but it's too low.
Yeah, Metacritic 30%.
Too low.
Too low. Letterboxd 2.6 out of 5.
I get it, but it's too
right.
low.
So this movie, I think the best way to describe this movie, maybe you agree, I bet you agree, better than it should have been.
Yes.
Right?
It's better than it should have been, and I think it's because of the cast. I think the cast is good.
But considering that this is Ashton Kutcher's first dramatic role.
He was pretty good.
He was pretty good. But the odds were stacked against it, right? Dramatic role, depressing stuff, childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Time travel-ish movie. He was punching above his weight, and he survived. He made it to round 12. He might have lost decision, but he made it to round 12.
I thought he was good in this for it being his first dramatic role.
Yeah.
And it turned out a lot. Like you said, it's better than it should have been.
Yeah. He was good in it up until the part where he lost his hands.
I know that's not funny, but it's because it's him.
Yeah.
It was weird. I guess because the CG was kind of bad too, and it looked
Well,
really
you know,
like
this was the era of bad CG, but
Right.
we'll talk about it.
2004, the heyday.
So what is this movie all about, Drew? The synopsis for The Butterfly Effect is college student Evan Treborn is afflicted with headaches so painful that he frequently blacks the F out. While unconscious, Evan is able to travel back in time to difficult moments in his childhood. That's a shitty
Yeah.
superpower.
That's an understatement of
That's
difficult moments.
Yeah. He's
Getting
having
your dog burned
yeah.
alive.
hard times for this guy. He can also alter the past for friends like Kaylee, who was molested by her father. We don't need to put that in there. I should have read that. But it's on the teleprompter. It's on the teleprompter. But
it's part of the synopsis here. It's how
But
dark
shit-
this is.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. Not on screen. But changing the past can drastically alter the present. Oh, we're going off the rails. And Evan finds himself in a nightmarish alternate reality, including one where he's locked away in prison.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Rated R.
Was this rated R? I don't
It's
remember.
Rated R.
Was this really rated R? It
There's
seems
lot
like
of
a
F-bombs.
PG-13.
Tons of F-bombs, tons
Yeah.
of themes.
F-bags, or whatever the word
F-bags,
his
yeah.
word was.
There were hard Fs. There were super hard
Simulated
Fs. Yeah.
fellatio on
Yeah.
the Aryan Brotherhood here, whatever
Yep.
it was pretty bad.
Yep.
So, well, all right. Well, let's go with the taglines. Change one thing, change everything.
What does Plays with Scroll say?
Sounds. That's what I was going to say.
Lose one friends, lose all
That's
friends.
the Eric
lose yourself.
Matthews quote right there. Lose yourself.
So I'm okay with it. Fine.
Such minor changes,
No.
such huge consequences.
You can't use the word "such" on your
Lose
movie
yourself.
poster.
Yeah,
No.
you got to such.
Such.
And then Verande die Zundknuft. I don't know how to say this.
I mean, that's a pretty good accent.
I don't know. So anyway, there's a couple foreign language ones, which I believe this is German. So it says the translation is "change the future through the past," which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
And then the end is only the beginning, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, a little generic.
I'm going the first one.
Did the Germans like Ashton Kutcher? Is that what this is?
I guess it must be.
Mhm.
I'm going the first one in my opinion.
Right.
So $13 million budget.
Yep.
It was a critical failure, I think, or it was critically panned. However, it did pretty well with the people, man. Maybe it was all the
Love it.
ladies wanting to watch Ashton Kutcher here, but 96 million return.
I came for Amy Smart. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had a Amy Smart thing back in 2004 as well, as most people who saw Road Trip did as well.
road
but,
trip,
It did pretty good.
Just Friends, she's got it. Girl Next Door.
Did you know that this is also an award-winning film, Badway?
Of course.
This is it's not a BAFTA.
Well,
It's not an Oscar.
Few are.
Do you want to know what it won?
What did it win?
It won the Biffs. It's got a
Oh,
Biff.
it won a Biff.
It's got a
Oh,
Biff. But
that's
not just
great.
a Biff, a Biff.
A Biff.
Like
extra
it's a
F.
long like
There's
there's
a-
three Fs in there.
I hear an extra F in there.
It's got a Brussels International Festival of Fantasy Film Award, a Pegasus Audience Award for both Eric Bress and J. Mackie McGruber.
All right,
Here.
I'm gonna play the dumb one of the show. So Brussels is what? Is that like Germany or something? What is that? What's Brussels?
Muscles from Brussels.
Yeah,
The
who is
muscles from Brussels. JCVD.
that? Oh,
my
JCB. That's
man.
right. Yeah,
This is Belgium.
Belgium. Where's Belgium? Belgium's like next to Germany, right? It's the same thing, basically, right?
Dumb Americans on this show, man.
Stupid American.
Dumb Americans on this show. For our international listeners here, it is right next to Germany.
Yeah, so I know
You're
it.
right.
I know it.
But it's got a
all.
biff, all right?
Yeah.
And it was also nominated for a Teen Choice Award, the other
course.
most prestigious award, not a blockbuster film award, and it lost to. Let me just read off some of these movies. This is a year for movies, man. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. It was going up against Dawn of the Dead, Freddy vs. Jason, Gothica, Secret Window, Underworld, Van Helsing, and The Butterfly Effect.
See, isn't this just a window into the soul
Yes.
of the early mid 2000s movies? Because you got 3 old horror franchises being rebooted. You've got 3 dark dramas, and you've got 2 vampire movies.
Yes. Do you remember Secret Window? A little weird movie.
I do, and it was good, but I feel like I'd appreciate it more now than I did back then.
Yeah, I agree. Johnny Depp. So little do the listeners know, we used to have a thing, I think we talked about this years ago, Bad Movie Wednesday or
Bad Movie
whatever, where
Wednesday.
me, you, and our friend, listener to the show, Julio, we used to get together. We would rent like a bad movie. And I remember Secret Window was like that and The Ninth Gate. We watched all
Yep.
these random movies that were not great. And this is one. And you said this before we started recording, but like, what is this era of movies? And I have a thought. Like when you talk about what is the era of movies, like this era of movies, and maybe it's too on the nose, but this era of movies is new metal. This era
It's
of
the new
movies is
metal.
pop punk. It's the new metal of movies.
Yeah, it's the new metal of eras of movies.
Like, doesn't that describe it?
It kind of does, yeah. It's kind of like Here and Gone. They don't make movies like these where it's like, I don't know, dark for the sake of darkness, but not really pushing the boundaries too hard. I don't know. It's like an odd time, and you can definitely watch a movie and tell, oh, this movie was definitely made in 2004, 2005, 2006.
It's officially got
yeah.
a decade of feel, like
Yeah.
where the 90s and the 80s, like 2004 is such a feel. And like you mentioned it too, Freddy vs. Jason, it's not a horror movie. It's like an action slash thriller slash kind of a comedy.
Kind of a comedy, yeah.
It's comedic. Same with
And
all
then,
these
yeah.
others.
And then you got the horror remakes. But yeah, this is like, I think of Disturbia. I think
Yeah.
of Awake, like any Jessica Alba movie, you know?
Those are good ones.
This is what we're dealing with here. It's not
Okay.
great, but I don't know. At the time, there was a bunch of them. There was a lot of okay movies. Basically, there were a lot of okay movies.
Describe 2004 in one word, in a couple words. It was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay. It was all right.
Tons of
who-
6 out of 10s.
You know who else was okay? Ashton
okay?
Kutcher.
Yeah, he's all right.
You know who else? So I'm going to tell you this, and maybe it sort of also describes 2004, and it's a way for us to segue into the movie. But 3 other people were offered the role of Evan Treborn. Don't call him Chris Treborn. Don't call him
Oh,
Christ Reborn.
Whoa!
Don't call him Event Reborn.
Wow, we're getting deep.
And I'm going to ask you, would this movie have been better or worse with these people? Is this not a Josh Hartnett movie like to a T?
Yeah, I think we bagged on Josh Hartnett not too long ago about like just being within this era.
40 Days, 40 Nights.
Yeah,
Wicker Park.
where when Josh Hartnett kind of like aged himself out of movies to where like once he couldn't play a 22-year-old anymore, like he was kind of done.
I think I saw a thing where it said he just quit acting or he left Hollywood. Now he's coming back. But like
Because
Lucky Number 11,
Yeah,
great movie.
because nobody wanted him because once he stopped looking 22,
Yeah.
you can't you can find the Fountain of Youth doesn't exist.
He had the Three Musketeers goatee going on. And then how about Joshua Jackson? Because like this is a Joshua Jackson movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely Josh Hartnett first for sure. I definitely feel that Ashton Kutcher got this movie because Josh Hartnett was offered
Turned it down
and said no.
They're like, who's another guy like Josh Hartnett?
Who's a younger Josh Hartnett?
Well, apparently Joshua Jackson turned it down too. And then third, Sean William Scott, Stifler. Like, this is not a Stifler.
No.
Like, no, he's too funny at this point. Like, this isn't. I don't know when American Pie 3 came out, but it's probably around this time, right?
All right, we're gonna rank it. So I feel like the movie's better with Josh Hartnett.
I agree.
Worse with Joshua Jackson.
Agree.
And just weird with Sean William Scott.
Yeah. It wouldn't be as depressing with Sean William Scott.
No. So it would have been Hartnett 1, Kutcher 2. I'll still go William Scott 3 and Jackson 4 because
Jackson 4?
I don't think he's not very good, is he?
Well, if you want to give so I guess you could technically say, wasn't Kutcher a funny actor at this point? So maybe this could have been Sean William Scott's breakout moment to show that he's got the dramedy.
Yeah, maybe he bust out the chops because this is Kutcher fresh off of Dude, Where's My Car, isn't he? You know?
I mean, the two of them were in that together. And then Josh Hartnett isn't really funny. He's more serious. Same with Joshua Jackson.
Sure.
Joshua Jackson's like quippy, and
he's not that great. Like come on.
Yeah, he's not so great. And so Kutcher was 26 at the time, playing a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's done extensive research on psychology, mental disorders, and chaos theory to prepare for this film. That's how dedicated he was to this thing. Do you think it paid off?
Sure. I mean, I believe that he was smart. Sure.
You like when he was handing in his papers and doing worm research?
So I will say this. I mean, if he indeed did study, and I bet it was one night, I bet it was a session, just one little session, but for him to learn about it or at least get himself familiar with the terms when he read them in the movie, like during his lines, when he talks about them, I kind of believe that this character is smart because you can tell if you're reading, words that you don't believe yourself, you have any idea what the hell they mean.
Yeah.
I said that weird, but you know what I mean, right?
Well, it's like people doing Star Wars and sci-fi acting, talking about photon beams and stuff,
Yeah.
and people are probably like, "What the hell are they?" You don't know what you're reading.
Yeah.
It's gibberish in some ways.
Yeah, but if you know the lore and you know like where it comes from, then you sound more confident in your line reading.
Yeah. So he read a psychology book and he's good to go now.
I think it's
So
fine. Yeah, I think it's a good move. Good for him. Good for him.
what do you think about? Let's talk about the group of friends, because we can start. And if you haven't seen this movie, we're going to spoil the hell out of it. So go watch it before you listen to this. If you care, it's 20 years old. So
20 years old. Screw you.
the moratorium's over. But
With all due respect, listeners, screw you. With all due respect. If you haven't seen this movie.
1-star review, iTunes.
Too low.
That bad way guy.
Too low.
Last Row Podcast, 1 star, too low. The movie centers around a group of friends, and there's a lot of traumatic crap happening in this thing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some of the kids. So Ashton Kutcher plays a kid named Evan, and he's part of this friends group with a brother and sister, Kaylee and Tommy, and Lenny, the other kid in the group. Describe this group of kids. Like, tell the listeners about these people.
So I feel like Evan is kind of a bad kid, but like playfully bad, right?
Yeah, he's like he gets into mischief. He's mischievous.
Yeah, he's mischievous. Like he's a nice-hearted kid, but he'll smoke a cigarette
in the
right?
basement. They're gonna smoke.
He'll egg a house. He'll do that. Kaylee and Tommy are the siblings that come from a bad family, broken home. Dad's kind of a scumbag. Tommy's definitely the leader and also a psychopath, future, murderer, whatever you want to call him. Think of the darkest thoughts. I won't put them out there, but you get it. And Kaylee's kind of just like this innocent girl that's kind of in it for the ride, looking for a way out, maybe hopefully somehow be protected by Evan. And then Lenny, I mean, I've been around a friend like Lenny where he's the stoolie. He's the stoolie's maybe not the right word. I don't know exactly what the definition of stoolie is, but
it sounded like it made sense.
Though he's like a sidekick. He's the one that you kind of like pin everything on.
He's the screech.
He's the hanger-oner. Yeah, he's the screech. Yeah, this poor kid, very innocent, but you talk him into doing stuff, and all of a sudden he develops complex. But like, good heart, very good heart, manipulated by the bad kids. Did I sum that up properly?
You did, and I think that's a perfect way to put it, because it's an eclectic group of kids, right? But like Tommy's sort of the ringleader, like of the evil stuff. But I think Evan's sort of just kind of hanging out with them. He's friends with them, but to your point, like he's not really a bad kid. He's just doing some bad stuff.
But they're mischievous enough to go along with Tommy's bad stuff until maybe he goes too far.
Agreed. I have a quick thought about Tommy though, and I want to get your take on this, but like he's a bad kid, but he's also like 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
Could you do you remember the scene in this movie where he was at the movie theater and he was really upset because he just saw Evan making out with his sister? And that's a whole weird thing in itself too. I don't get it. Like it's not a protection thing. It was like a jealousy thing. It was really weirdly like creepy.
Yeah, like he wanted her for himself or something.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on in this movie, and it gets pretty dark. But he just decides to beat the crap out of some random guy that like kind of makes fun of him.
He tripped him, but he shoved like a metal, I don't even know what those are called, like the rope things that hold the ropes. The metal divider,
up this guy's face.
A line former.
I mean, he effed this guy up. So my question to you is, you're on record of saying that you could fight kids.
Sure.
Especially when we were talking about Mighty Ducks, and you can take these kids.
Yeah.
Could you take Tommy? Like, what? How would you handle this? Like, let's say you're the guy that's standing there, you tripped him, and then he bashes your head in with this metal thing. You think you could take him?
If he blindsides me with a blunt object, there's really no defense of that. Like, you're already like stunned. What are you gonna do?
What if you're the guy standing there next to him? Like, there was a guy, his girlfriend, and a group of guys.
Well, then you have to just grab him, right? You can't hit him. You can't hit him. But you can grab him. You have to like protect your friend, but just by grabbing the kid.
You can't hit.
You can't hit. But I think without the blunt object, if the kid punches you in the face like maybe twice, then I think you're allowed to smack him.
Well, and also as the Last Row Podcast legal expert, What is the legality of if he hits you in the head with that metal thing? Can you hit him back? Are you allowed?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
what's your
I think
legal?
I'm pretty sure you can self-defense yourself on a kid. I mean, if your life is in danger by any, there's witnesses all around you. You didn't obviously, well, you did start the fight with the tripping, but it's not like I throw a pebble at you, then you throw a boulder at me, like that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing. But I think back to the movie theater when he's being loud at the movie, he's throwing popcorn at the guy who shushes him, calls him all sorts of names. That's the unwinnable scenario because you can't hit this kid. Like if this were another adult, then maybe you could have words that could lead to something. Which, by the way, not to tangent.
Yeah.
But why is the movie theater such like a tense place where like people take everything personally to the point of wanting to fight you?
Because you just spent a fortune to sit there and watch something, and you gotta hope that people are just not idiots.
It's like
you can't because people are idiots.
Everyone's at like this heightened state of alpha male when they're in the movie theater. Like if you get shushed, it's like, let's go, bro. You want to go? Like that's a thing where everyone is like on edge about everyone else around them.
If the listeners are interested, I've got plenty of After Dark stories here of movie theater run-ins when we used to work there, because man, there are some good stories. One day I will reveal the secrets if the listeners want to. You let us know. But
when that jerk in the movie theater is a 12-year-old kid, you can't hit him. So you're powerless. He can call you any name in the book. He can chuck all his food at you. What are you going to do?
I have stories like this, by the way, of where this happened and people couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah,
it's like a kid knew.
He's a kid. You can't hit him. So what are you going to do?
He calls mom, and then it's like he doesn't have a mom.
His mom doesn't care. His mom doesn't care.
And the thing is, he is that way because the parents don't care. So you call the parents, they're not going to do jack. They don't care. What about this? So maybe it reminds me of the situation at the Eagles Super Bowl parade when you got peed on by that random guy in the crowd. For people that don't know about this, we were in this crowd and there's like this random guy there, and it's like we shove the guy out, right?
I don't care where you are, movie theater, anywhere. I mean, enjoy a Super Bowl parade. Guy pees on your foot. I mean, it's fighting time. So
as the crowd showed, they just shoved this guy out. Nobody hurt the guy, but we shoved him out of here. Like, get him out of here. He disappeared into the ether.
Upon one look, he definitely looked over 18 to me. So
yeah, there was no fight, no juvenile situation.
No.
Well, and the last thing I'll say about the kids here before we get into some of the timeline stuff is that, man, did they nail the casting on this? Didn't they?
Yeah. The counterparts for the kids to adults, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They were perfect. Like, I thought the kids were actually good actors, too. It's a lot of bad acting by children on our podcast here. But these kids were actually pretty good, in my opinion. They did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rare moment, but I don't know what they did. I've never seen these kids in other things. Maybe you have. I didn't recognize them from anywhere. But, yeah, I mean that was the upset of the century, for a small movie like this to have such attention to detail.
So this film takes place over a bunch of different years, and there's different eras within the years. So it's 1989, 96, 2002, and 2010 at the end there in the future. So there's this original sort of timeline or setup, and we need to talk about what this is. We talk a little bit about the kids and what they were going through, but there's some very specific events that happened that once Ashton Kutcher goes back, he starts to see things that he wants to change. We kind of set the stage here. So how would you describe the situation here? What's going on in these kids' lives? And are there major events that you want to call out to the listeners and to the people out there listening to the show that may have not seen the movie?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is obviously the pedophilia of Kaylee and Tommy's father, where Tommy, I'm sorry, I'm going to call the kid Ashton because I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
I keep wanting to call him Ashton. I'm going to call him Ashton. So Ashton Kutcher's character, he's being babysat by the dad, and he comes over, and he's like, "Hey, let's make a film." And the dad's drinking, and you're like, "Oh boy, let's go down to the basement,
Get a little saucy there,
make a film." Yeah. So, and obviously he blacks it out, so we don't know what happened really until much later in the movie. So yeah, there's some pedophilia going on.
There's also the scene where his teacher calls him out because he drew a really horrific picture of like murdering people. And his mom got called to school, and then she saw him with a knife. Like, that was another weird situation where something's wrong with this kid, and you're not really sure.
Yeah. And, there was a situation with a stick of dynamite where they accidentally, I don't know if they injured or flat out killed a mother and a baby.
It was
Stick
implied
it-
they died.
Putting a stick of dynamite in the mailbox. I mean, that was a major event. He got choked out by his own dad when he visited him in the mental institution. I mean, that's kind of messed up.
And then his dad was murdered as
yeah,
a result.
And then his
He
dad was
watched it.
his dad was murdered in front of him to subdue the poor guy. And then Tommy ended up burning his dog alive, which
That is like one of the hardest scenes, man. I know
Yeah.
the child pornography thing is awful as well, but the dog one was like just up there as well to me.
Yeah.
Like it was hard to watch.
so we see 4 or 5 very traumatic moments of Ashton Kutcher's childhood, which coincides with all the other characters, the Tommy and the Kaylee and the Lenny. So there's a lot of things that happen in his life that maybe he would like to take back or fix, depending on how his life turns out. And we'll go through that as we go. So are we going to go through his original timeline first?
Maybe not the timeline, but let's talk about the consequences of what happened, right? Because you named a bunch of good stuff there. Where is he in his life as a result of all of this stuff that happened? Because you see him drive away at one point, but where is he and where are the rest of the people?
So his mom moves him away after all this. They're moving. They're getting on with their lives. So he's separated from Tommy and Kaylee and Lenny. Cut to college. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Great student. Buddy with the professor. Frankie Stachino's his roommate. Total goth dude. But they're
I kinda
chummy.
liked him.
I like
liked
it.
him.
It was a good odd couple roommate situation going on. But yeah, his life's great. And as far as he knows, everything's cool. Everything's cool.
But then you got the other people kind of not so great, right? You got
Yeah.
Lenny who's sitting there in his room building model airplanes like he didn't develop because he was traumatized,
Yeah.
so he was stuck almost as like a childlike innocence for what happened because of he feels responsible because he was the one that put that dynamite in the mailbox that blew up that family.
There's a lot of sad moments and visuals in this movie, but at the top, near the top of the
Man.
list is the race car bed.
Dude,
When they showed that he was still sleeping in his race car bed, I was
That
like,
hurt me, man.
Oh god, this kid, he's so underdeveloped. Oh, poor kid.
that hurt me, man. And it by the way, this is a triumphant return of Fulton Reed from the Mighty Ducks series
Yeah.
for this movie, but
Really heavy stuff for Fulton Reed.
it was
Yeah.
super heavy. And then, Kaylee is working at the diner. These old men are like groping her up, which was like
Yep.
disgusting. And it was so completely uncalled for.
Yeah,
Tommy is likely some felon, which we don't officially know, but there's something implied where he's like in jail or something and he gets out. And then, you've got a lot of really bad stuff here. And there was some allusion by his dad or something that was alluded to by his dad of like, this has to end with him. When he was trying to strangle him, he wanted to kill him because he has to like end the curse or whatever this is. So there's obviously something. As you're watching this movie for the first time, you probably have no idea what the hell's going on. You're thinking like, what is he talking about? And if upon further rewatches, it starts to make a lot of sense. He's obviously got these powers. But before we talk about the powers, like, is this the original timeline? Like, it's not a time travel movie per se. It's more like I don't know. I don't even know what it's a time experience movie.
yeah.
Like, is this the original timeline? Because there's things that hinted at. Like, it was kind of confusing, wasn't it?
The way the movie, I mean, this could be just poor movie making to make it confusing, this aspect, but from what I gather, the blackouts where the kid has blackouts in like present day and like he's holding the knife, or the prison drawing picture that we'll get to it later, that he doesn't remember drawing as a kid. So when he has a blackout in his present day, is that in fact like the time around him messing with his head? Is there like an interspersing of time as we're going?
And they implied it, right? Because they showed like maybe the blackout was his memories being erased as it was going backwards or something. Like, I don't know, but they heavily implied it. Like, especially the scene where he was holding the knife. But it was odd because sometimes he passed out, and then sometimes he stood there staring into nothing, right?
Yeah. So like it's kind of, you assume while watching the movie that he's just going back one way. It's a one-way leap backwards. But it really is a loop. But I think they had a bad time of representing that in the movie.
They did. And
is fine if you don't think about it too hard. But this happens with a lot of time travel movies. If you think about it too hard, then you start seeing all the mistakes. And then you get in your own head, and then you get confused. And it's best to like not think too hard about it.
Yeah. Well, if you're the movie maker, right, you either need to like play hard by the rules, like a Christopher Nolan style, or you got to just say, "Hey, it doesn't matter."
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's all or who cares. Yeah. So you gotta pick one.
There's a super traumatic thing that happens here that causes him to want to go back, and he sort of figures out these powers, but Kaylee kills herself. I mean,
She's
talk
dead.
about dark, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm depressed talking about this right now. Like,
It's a
this is
big
a messed up movie.
Yeah. Pedophilia. We have a child and mother died.
Murder.
We have a dog murdered. Geez, now we got a suicide. We have a traumatized kid. I mean, this is a sad timeline for.
Why do you make me watch, man? Why did you make me watch this? This is
I was thinking about Ashton with no arms. That's why.
Yeah,
it's
like so Kaylee winds up killing herself, and then Tommy's super upset. Who I also like the older actor for Tommy. I thought he was really good. He looked like a Tommy.
Yeah,
and
total Tommy.
He decides that he's going to go back and fix this after he realizes what he can do. I don't know. We're kind of all over the place, but let's talk about like his powers. And I think the way to do this is to introduce chaos theory.
We have to go back.
Talk about this. We got to go back.
We have to go back.
Tell like what is chaos theory?
So chaos theory, Drew, is the theory that it has been said that something as small as the flutter of a butterfly's wing can ultimately cause a typhoon halfway around the world. So that's what we get on the opening, card of the movie.
Did you like that? Did you like that they opened with that?
I like that. I like opening.
It set the stage.
Yeah. So it basically says that if you go back in time and change one little thing, it could alter all of reality for everyone around you.
And that's what he does.
You go back in time, you step on a bug, you might come to find out later that all of a sudden it rains donuts instead of water. So that's a Simpsons flashback for anybody who's paying attention. But yeah, so anything can change if you alter one aspect of the past if you time travel.
And I'm just going to straight up apologize to everyone listening to this right now because it is hard to talk about this thing. Like, we don't normally touch the plot, but this one you kind of can't talk about this movie without talking about the plot. And the piece of how he figures out his powers is by reading one of his journals. Like, he found one of his journals, and this girl that he was hooking up with in his dorm room. Again, another dark and creepy moment where he's reading this journal, and it's clearly like a really traumatic, messed up memory. Wasn't it the pedophilia one, actually?
No, I think it was the dog one. It was the dog one. So
and it was clearly messed up.
Yeah, so he's in present day college, before time travel, and he's like, before he knows he has these powers, and he's, the girl accidentally stumbles. They're in his dorm room, and she accidentally stumbles upon his journals, and she goes, "Oh, hey, you read one to me?" Starts to read it. He doesn't know what's in there because he hasn't touched it in who knows how long.
20 years.
Yeah. He starts reading about the story of the day where his dog died from Tommy. And like, as he's reading it, you can tell he's becoming uncomfortable. And she's like, I'm going to get real close to the mic. I'm going to be like, "Oh, can you go on?"
She was doing the ASMR.
Keep going. Keep going. Yes, keep going. I want to hear more about the dead dog. Were you sad?
You're gonna have to start a ASMR Twitch channel here, Banway. You got a future. You got a future.
That's really sad. Can you please keep going?
Oh my god!
And like, who is this freak?
Real?
Who is this freak?
Yeah, freak is the way to put it.
We thought Francis Taquino was the freak, but no,
dude, it was messed up. And if you were him, like, wouldn't you? Like, was he struggling with it because he wanted her? Like, he was celebrating 20 years or whatever it was, 10 years of no blackouts or something. I forgot what it was. It was some celebration of no blackouts, and that's why he was with her. He was trying to hook up with her. But wouldn't you just stop reading? Like, I don't know. He kept going because I guess he wanted her to keep going.
You can pivot.
It's like, you know what? Let me go get one for my birthday party instead of the time my dog got poured lighter fluid and burned alive.
Yeah, he could have skipped to the last page. You didn't have to keep reading that story.
What do you think of the way that the powers worked? So, I guess explain the power, because he's reading it and then what's happening? Like, what actually happens?
Yeah, so as he reads the words on the page, it kind of does this brain morph thing where he's able to travel into his own brain and become himself as a kid.
Weird, right?
And he's able to alter the past to try to like fix what he considers the wrongs of his life. What could he have done different to maybe save Kaylee's life and make her life better? Because his life's better. He wants to make her life better. He's probably assuming he's going to do something that will help her but also shoot him back to his regular life. But he obviously didn't study chaos theory. So
Yeah. Chaos. Chaos. What about what's the consequences of him doing this physically, right? So there's obviously the ripple effect and the typhoon halfway around the world that he's
Yeah.
causing. But what about the physical toll that this thing has on him?
well, you gotta have a nosebleed, right?
Yeah, you got to show the audience that something's happening.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it, right?
You can't. I mean, every time you hurt your brain in a movie or a show, you get a nosebleed. That's like the rules. That's what you gotta have.
Unless you're 11, it's
Yeah.
like nothing happens to you.
And then also, there's this horrible brain hemorrhaging thing that's going on. That's probably going to kill him very quickly. As the more he does it.
Which
So,
is what happened to his dad and what they
Yeah.
were saying his dad was committed for, right? So
Yeah.
it was that's the whole thing. So what do you think if we go through each one of these things? Let's go through. So he's using his powers. So we've established what powers he has right now. Let's talk about these decisions that he made on behalf of the world and on behalf of Kaylee and causing typhoons all halfway around the world. Let's talk about for each one of these. We'll set up the situation. Let's talk about, did he make it better
Yes.
or worse?
Okay.
And how close is he to like the perfect outcome
This
for
is the
each of
best-
these?
This is the best way to do this. This is great.
It's the only way to do it, right? Like
The only way.
I feel like there's no there's no other way to do
We
this.
have to do it this way.
So the first one that he goes back, he finds out she commits suicide. He's like, I gotta save
Can't have that.
her.
You can't have that. It's his fault, kind of, because he
It
went
is
back.
his fault. He went back.
She was
upset her.
unhappy. She was unhappy being a waitress and doing dead end job and maybe still living at home, still being tortured by her dad.
She
but at
emancipated
least- but at least she
emancipated
was-
herself.
Oh yeah, well at least she was living.
Right.
At least she was living.
She was alive.
Yeah.
So he goes back into the time with the movie making with her dad when they were shooting the pedophilia video and tells him off, right? He calls him an F bag or something.
Yep. F bag, and he says, "Hey, you touch her again, I'm gonna kill you," or whatever he says. I don't know. And oh, by the way, your scumbag son, you got to discipline him because he's a psychopath. And like, hey, chaos theory, whatever you do is gonna cause future outcomes. So the dad's like, surprisingly, the dad like took it.
Yeah,
Did
I
that
thought that
surprise
was a
you?
little odd. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just not do that again.
I feel like the dad would have called him a little shit.
Especially if he's the type of guy that's going to film this type of video. Like he's not going to be.
Yeah, but
backing
you know
down by
what?
that.
I mean, the kid's got ammo. Really, I mean, he can't be exposed.
Fair enough.
Can't be
Fair enough.
exposed. So I guess he's got him.
What
So-
What do you think of the casting of Eric Stoltz as the father?
I loved it. My favorite Eric Stoltz was 2002 Eric Stoltz with the long
Yeah.
hair. That's my favorite Eric Stoltz.
Did you know? So here you go. You have the band's off, but
Oh boy.
according to IMDb, here we
Oh
go.
boy, I knew it was coming.
So, and this is a Whistler's daughter's father situation, is what I'll say about this. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But the wig that Eric, the wig, you should see Vadway's face right now. He's giving me the shame, the look of
Disgusting.
shame. He's taking the bell out from the Game of Thrones
Disgusted.
shame bell. The wig that Eric Stoltz wears, the one, the long hair, 2002 Eric Stoltz, in the film was made of Eric Stoltz's real hair.
Says
IMDb.
IMDb.
So what does that mean, right? Is that like
What is-
you cut your hair because you might need it sometime for a role that you have
See,
where you have long hair?
If that were true, I feel like that would have been like breaking news on CNN. Breaking news: Eric Stoltz is a freak because nobody who's keeping their own hair. Who's doing it?
Well, yeah, because he probably grew it out one time. Like this is me right now with long hair. When I get my hair cut, should I make a wig of it so that if I ever want to grow my hair out again, I don't need to because I just have a wig of my own long hair. So it's I don't need
Oh,
the
so
long hair.
that's a prepared actor thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's so
No.
good of an actor
No.
and he's so prepared.
No, I believe like Daniel Day Lewis does that shit. I don't think Eric Stoltz does that shit.
He grew his hair out and he cut it into a wig for the time that he might need. That's next level acting here, man.
No,
That's what that
I
is.
I don't buy it. I don't
That's
buy
next level next level acting.
it.
But
Get back-
anyway,
let's get back to the movie.
the movie. So he becomes a frat boy in the future of this,
So-
right? He
so
wakes up
yeah.
in the bed.
So after
Ashton
he,
Kutcher, back to
so
real
yeah,
life.
after he tells the dad off, and the dad vows not to touch Kaylee ever again, but also vows to discipline his son because he's a psychopath. Flash forward, Ashton Kutcher wakes up in bed with Kaylee in college in a sorority house.
In bed.
In
They
bed.
were in bed.
They're a couple. They are a couple of people. Tell you what,
What'd you think of that? So on a scale of 1 to 10 on the life rating, how's his life right now?
12, right? You gotta
He's
think
flying
12.
high.
On the surface, I have words about this. We'll get into it very soon, but it's not time yet. So
Hashtag, we'll get to that
Yeah.
later.
very, very soon. Well, hashtag we'll get to that soon. He wakes up in bed, right, with her. It sounds like a dream scenario. He's confused, but he gets his day going. Comes to find out that he seems a little uncomfortable in his own skin, right? Because just a few hours ago, he was this psychology
Scholar.
major, scholar, straight, 4.0 student, teacher's pet kind of thing. Now he's got frat gear on. He's confused. His girlfriend is, the love of his life, but she's kind of,
It's not what he expected.
caught into the trappings of the sorority life, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't want to say ditzy, but you know the type, right?
It was more materialistic.
Stereotypical
Right.
sorority girl, right? And his friends are frat bros.
The
when
guys
he
that
was-
were giving him crap 4
exactly.
hours ago.
Guys that he would not even give a time of day just a couple hours ago, right? So he's kind of uncomfortable in his own skin. And his seemingly life is great. So my question to you is is this a happy
No.
scenario for him? Or
No.
is it kind of like a dream that would wear off really quick?
I think it's a dream. It's almost dude, I don't want to quote, our buddy here, but let's not make it a nightmare because
It's not making a nightmare.
it was kind of a nightmare because
Yeah.
think about it. He doesn't want to be a frat bro and you're stuck living
No.
that life.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
almost like a prisoner. You're a prisoner in
Yeah.
this world that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So as bad as it was for the other people, it's still pretty bad for him.
So
Not
not only is he not comfortable in his surroundings, even Kaylee says to him, you've been acting different lately. Like, how long until Kaylee dumps him because he's not the guy that she fell in love with,
Was the
aka the
version-
frat boy?
Yeah, was the version of him that she fell in love with a scumbag? Because think about it.
Yeah.
He tried to do nice thing for her. He made a nice birthday dinner for her, which is like a thing that you would do for your
Yep.
significant other. Anyone would do that. She's like, that wasn't you at all. Like,
Yeah.
what is he doing to her on a regular basis that
He's
is making her
probably
turned off?
So he's probably just like his frat bros that we see, that he probably grew up in that life.
Yeah.
Right. So
Not great.
so now that he as himself is plopped into that scenario, it's a very short-sighted win, Oh, it's great. I'm with my, my first crush, my love of my life. I saved her. But,
Not great.
there's not a lot of substance here.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And the fact is, Tommy's still around, and Tommy's still in the picture here. Her
Well,
brother.
That's the end of this. So yeah, how does this finish? So he's at the dinner where he threw a lovely dinner that she kind of half isn't appreciating because she doesn't believe it. And then frat guy comes in and says, "Hey, bro, someone crashed your car."
They did more than that. They took a steaming dump right on the hood of that car,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah, somebody smashed his car up real good. Come to find out, Tommy, Kaylee's sister, is out of prison, at a juvie or wherever the hell he is, and he's out for blood because someone dates his sister. If I can't have her, no one can. Kind of scenario,
Just-
right?
It's like, come on, man. It's messed up.
Nice guy. You're protective of your sister, but like
It's a little too much.
she's got to date somebody. You might as well be a nice guy, right?
No, she's got to date somebody. She's got to date him. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
That's where this movie's
Yeah.
going. They imply it heavily, don't
Like
they?
father, like son, right? I mean,
It's very heavily
unfortunately,
scummily implied, which is
Yeah.
also again depressing as hell.
But I mean, we'll get into this later. When Tommy's character takes a surprising turn, it kind of contradicts all that. But we'll get into that later.
So anyway, he winds up attacking Ashton Kutcher. They F him up. Ashton Kutcher murders him.
Maced and murdered him.
He maced him and should have ended there. And he went a little overboard and he started bashing his face in and he murdered him. However, he was attacked. I know he subdued him.
Yeah.
But he was attacked. He winds up in jail for murder. Now, I got to ask you something. His mom comes there and visits him and says, "Oh, the lawyer's going to get you off on self-defense." Like, I know he's a college guy. Like,
Yeah.
is he going to the hardest of prisons possible? Like,
No.
the type of
They-
place he's in right now is
he
like,
He would have been out on bail, but maybe they're not, don't have a lot of money, so maybe they couldn't afford it.
his frat bros
But
got
that's-
the money.
But that's what a bail bondsman's for.
Right.
But secondly, they wouldn't send him to the penitentiary. Like they sent him to a jail, right?
My
You'd be in
God.
jail, not prison. Capital P, prison.
He was in the hardest place I've seen.
With all the gangs and everything. No. But real quick, before they arrested him, I found this peculiar. When Tommy was beating up Ashton, right? When he had the upper hand, Kaylee was like, "Stop, what are you doing? Stop." When Ashton got the upper hand on her brother, that's when she ran and hit the buzzer to call security.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I agree with you.
What's that about?
Well, she didn't want to even be with him because she was afraid of the brother, which is weird, but like, I get it. Shouldn't she? Did she not want the brother to go back to jail or something? It's just weird.
She should have called security right away. She waited until Ashton had the upper hand, as if to like protect her brother. Interesting.
Let's get us back to the prison because he's in jail, rotting away, waiting for his lawyer to figure out how the hell to get him out on self-defense, or somebody to figure out what you said, what a bail bondsman is.
Yeah.
He's sharing a room with a religious dude played by Martin Keamy from the Lost fame, which I love the actor. I forgot the guy's name.
It's a deep cut.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
He's a bit character in Lost.
One of my favorite guys ever.
Yeah.
But he's got this roommate, and he's trying to convince him that he needs some help because he's caught up with all the gangs and stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to get his notebooks. His mom got the notebooks. He's in with the Aryan Brotherhood. They're trying to beat him up or turn him into one of their dudes. He's got the other guys coming after them. It's not great.
It's good. They're going to turn him into one of their dudes. That's a good way to put it.
That's one way to put it.
It's funny when he walks into that prison. It's like, it's obvious. Like the term fresh fish, when they say fresh fish, it's like he's stumbling, he's tripping, he's trembling. That's probably how I would look if I went to prison, honestly. But it's like, obviously this guy is gonna get something coming his way, and it's not good. And he's a ticking clock for sure.
He winds up trying to get this guy to help him, his roommate, and he does, but he convinces him that he has stigmata by getting his notebook and going back. And we see the scene when he was back in the original part of the movie, right, where he drew the picture. He got up out of the chair and bashed his hands on the thing, so the guy believes him. Yep. He winds up going back and getting out of the jail just in the nick of time, right?
Yep. Because he slapped his hands down, got the stigmata, and whatever happens in the past shows up. The scars, they show up because that's how this time travel works. And he got a friend for life.
Before he goes back, let's put sort of an official rating on his life here out of 10. Yeah. What are you giving his life? He's in jail. He's rotting away.
Like, I mean, 0, right?
Right?
he killed
kind of
Tommy,
a 0,
and he's in prison.
It doesn't get much worse than that.
I mean,
it was
a B- before the whole prison thing, right?
Yeah.
Like he has a good life. Kaylee has a great life, but they're probably going to break up. But at least everyone's safe.
Well,
right?
You murder someone's brother. I don't know how you go back from there. But
no, but after the murder thing, then it was F. 0.
F minus.
Yeah, F minus. Really. So he really screwed up. He made it worse.
Yeah. So his
made
life
everything worse.
Definitely worse. Like everyone's worse.
Well, I mean, he got Kaylee. Is it worse than the timeline where Kaylee kills herself?
Tommy died, and I guess Tommy in that timeline was not great. But he died instead of her.
So like, Tommy died instead of her. He's in prison. But like, is the goal to like help her? Because I feel like he's putting everyone ahead of himself.
He is
time travels.
Well, and this is more about the ending, right? Which we talk about at the end here. But like, I think this movie isn't really about. It's like he is trying to help her. This movie wants to be a rom-com, not a rom-com, but it wants to be like a love movie, but it's not a love movie.
Yeah,
it's too dark for it.
Okay, so maybe it's a 2 because like he helps her, but now she's going to be grieving the death of her brother and the possible long-term prison sentence of her now ex-boyfriend, who she probably was dating since, 6th grade or whatever.
True.
Right?
Because they showed it.
She lost her long love and her brother. And on the other side, his mother is now grieving. Now she's got a son in prison. So everything's bad, but she's safe. So it's like a 2.
He died. Tommy died, but he didn't really care about Tommy. I'm not saying he's worthless.
The life and death of Tommy is, it would be a bonus if he survived.
Butterfly effect,
right. Yeah.
the life and death of Tommy. Yeah. So he goes back in time now, and where does he go?
He goes back to the junkyard scene where Tommy's about to kill his dog, which doesn't, that's just messed up, right? We talked about that. We don't need to get into more details about the dog dying, but he comes in and he goes to Lenny. He hands Lenny this sharp metal object.
Which, what do you think he's going to do with that?
Yeah. Lenny, Lenny. Hey, Lenny,
Hey.
you got to step up
You.
here. There's going to be a
You.
situation coming where you got to cut a bag loose. I'm going to give you this sharp thing, and when the situation comes, you cut that bag loose. All right, Lenny?
Yeah.
And Lenny's like, I'm scared. I don't know. So they get in there. The scene plays out again. 2x4 gets swung, hits Kaylee in the face. Kaylee's got a big scar now. That'll lead to her crack whore lifestyle. Just,
Just
yeah. And instead of cutting the bag, Lenny stabs the Tommy in the back, literally kills him.
Mhm.
Kills him.
Yep.
He's dead.
What did you think was gonna happen? He gives him this like
Yeah.
rusty shard of metal.
And Lenny hates Tommy. You know it.
Yeah, and is Lenny the most tragic character of this whole movie? I mean,
He is.
really, he has the
He is.
worst life of everybody.
But great
except for a couple
redemption.
times,
Great redemption, though.
especially when
yeah.
when Ashton loses his arms. He's
Yeah.
really redeeming himself. But
Yep.
so let's rate the consequences of here. So what happens then of this? So you said Lenny murders Tommy. Amy Smart is got a gashed up face. Like, where are people in the future then? Where does this put them?
Yeah, so Ashton is back in college, same as he ever was, right? Back to being a philosophy major, and he's got Frank Stechino as his roommate. Everything's cool, right? No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Nope.
Comes to find out, Lenny is in the the nut house. He just couldn't
Yep.
take what he did, so he's a psychiatric ward. When he goes to visit him,
He's like catatonic.
how about it? How about the heavy stuff he puts on Ashton?
Yep.
This should have been you.
Dude,
This should have been you.
it should have been. And you know what? The way that he rolled up in there, like,
Yeah.
hey, Lenny, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
it's like the
really.
guy's on a gurney, like with his
Yeah.
arms and legs completely
Yep.
strapped up. Like, he should have.
And-
They should
and
have let him have it.
He did the same thing in the last scene with him, with the in the attic
Hey,
with the
buddy.
airplanes. Hey, buddy, how's it going? I know you
Want
murdered.
another airplane?
I know you accidentally murdered a mother and her baby, but how's it going?
Hey, buddy. Hey.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Get out
rolling
of
his
here with
eyes,
that.
rolling his eyes at his airplane collection. Like, come on, Ashton,
Get the
come
hell
on.
out of here with that. You know?
So oblivious.
And how about like the whole Amy Smart thing where Amy Smart, Kaylee, is, I mean, they heavily imply she's a prostitute, right? Or she's
Literally a heroin addict, crack whore, prostitute. Yeah,
she's prostituting herself for money. And it, like, God, I felt like I got a disease just by watching that
it's a
scene.
very, very grimy scene, and where's her award for
Yeah,
this
where's-
scene?
Where's the makeup artist award?
Playing the heroin addict. Yes, the makeup artist too.
She was great. I mean,
Yeah.
that scene skeeved me out. I felt filthy watching it. Like, didn't you feel like you were in
Yeah.
the filth?
Oh yeah, it was grimy. I'd take a shower.
Where would you rate this now? Like the last one you gave a 2 out of 10. Where do you
This
rate
is-
this in the life rater?
Probably worse.
It's probably worse.
Somehow worse. I mean, his life's
Yeah.
fine, but the other two lives are like irrevocably. I can't say what's the word?
Irrevocably?
Irrevocably.
I don't know.
Why am I trying to pronounce these
'Cause
words
it's
at
3 a.m.
4 a.m.? Why am I doing this?
See,
They're
everyone thinks
forever
we're
sc-
joking. It's late,
Yeah.
but it is late.
They are forever screwed up. His life's okay, but the trauma, like he did this, so he has to fix this.
Did they say what happened to Tommy in this line? I don't remember this.
He's
one.
dead.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right. He died.
The
Yeah,
stab
of
in the
course. He
back,
died.
we assume he died.
That's
Yeah.
right. No, he was dead. He murdered him. I
Yeah.
forgot.
So I'm gonna go 0. I think it's worse than the prison outcome,
It's
just
worse.
because he ruined everyone's life around him. And like, what's he gonna go scot free and just go on to be
No.
a psychology major? No way.
There's
So he's gotta-
consequences to your
Yeah.
decisions.
It's
buddy.
it's a 0 because it's an instant go back. He's
Yeah.
like, shit, I screwed up. I gotta go
Oh
back.
my God, I gotta get. Where's my notebooks? All
Here's
right,
my
buddy.
notebook. I screwed this up.
There we go. So yeah, so he does, right? But he tried to go back and talk. Like, I guess in this one, he goes back and talks to his dad, right? So he gets his notebook and he goes to the memory of when he blacked out talking to his father,
Mhm.
and when his father tried to choke him out. So again, this is where it starts to, are those scenes the original timeline or not? But that's where he goes back because he wants to tell
Totally.
his dad, like, I need your help, right? Like, you need to help me fix this. And what does he say to him? He's like, look, there's nothing you can do. Like, it ends with you. You
Can't
gotta
play
stop.
God. Yeah, you can't play God. It never works.
As we heard in the beginning here, you
And
you
he's
can't
like-
do it.
He's like, bullshit. Give me my notebooks. I'll show you.
I'm
Let's
going
go back to the mailbox scene with the dynamite. I'm gonna fix this. Watch
Yep.
this. So he goes back to the mailbox scene again. Decides he's gonna not yell at the mother holding the baby. Hey, get out of the way. He
Obvious.
decides, he knows that thing's going to explode. Decides to open the mailbox and try to pick it up and throw it away. Bad move. So not only does he get his arms blown off, but Tommy tackle dives and knocks over the mother, thereby saving her from the explosion, which has another ripple effect that we'll see. So cut to, where are we?
Back to 2002, I believe, right?
2002, we're back in college. He wakes up, thinks everything's okay. He hears a little loving making going on next to him.
Little boot shaking, little bed squeaking.
Little bed squeaking going on next to him. And he's like, I'm back. Everything's good. That must be Frankie Stechino getting his groove on. It's got to be. Let me stretch, figure this out.
God damn it, bad way. God damn it.
But was it that? It was not that.
It was not. It was Lenny.
Lenny.
And Kaylee.
You effing whore.
You son of a bitch. That's what I would say. And oh my God, man. So, and not only is that, he has lost his arms and legs at this point. So he is.
No, he's got his legs. He's got his legs.
I thought they said that there was I think it was a quadruple amputee or something.
No, I don't know.
Did they show it?
You know what? They should. Maybe there were. I saw legs on the wheelchair, but maybe they weren't real legs. They were just jeans. So basically, I saw long jeans. I don't know what's under there.
But he's like in this room. Now, look, this is the most important question of this whole episode right now.
This is it.
Just it boils down to one thing. If you don't listen to anything else, you need to listen to this part. Yeah. How much of a violation is this that they're doing that right there? Now, I don't know what happened between 1996 and 2002, and maybe this is just par for the course for them.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
I question the relationship outright, but the fact that they're getting it on right next to him as he's at least handsless, maybe feetless. Like,
it's bad.
How insensitive is that?
Yes.
You can't do that.
And he's in love with her. Like, in love with her.
Not only that, that's worse. But even, Drew, if you and I were roommates in college, and you were getting it on just 3 feet away from me, I'd be a little uncomfortable. It'd be a little uncomfortable.
Can you take that to the other room, please?
Yeah. Could you at least tell me to leave something? I don't want to be here. I don't want to share this with you.
Yeah. It's not a moment to be shared.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the relationship? Like, maybe we could ask, like, could they ever work? Now, we don't know Lenny at this point. We don't really know much about him.
Yeah. So we find out that Lenny, and Lenny was a very chubby kid, as we see in the childhood scenes and in like his traumatic scenes in the present day. But in this scene, Lenny's lost weight. He's got nice flowing blonde hair.
Surfer looking dude.
Surfer dudes, half surfer, half hippie, that kind of thing. Dude, so that's not his fault. It's not Lenny's fault. I blame Kaylee. So Kaylee and Evan Ashton clearly had a thing for each other throughout their whole childhood, right? So the second that he loses his hands, she shifts to Lenny.
Well, we don't know that that's when it happened, right? We don't know. I mean, it could have happened. I mean, well, yeah, I guess you're right.
He gets a deformity, and all of a sudden she slides over to Lenny. How does that work? How does that work?
That's true.
Kaylee,
that's true.
Amy Smart. How does that work? Maybe now. Okay, all right. Devil's advocate. Maybe after his injury, he becomes like,
depressed,
something. F the world, jaded. He's not the same person, obviously. So maybe like even if she tried to have a relationship with him, maybe like he was too not mentally prepared to do that. And in the meantime,
Lenny was there.
The spark with Lenny, because they had that bond.
I just don't buy it.
Lenny started hitting the treadmill.
I just don't buy it.
I don't buy it either.
I don't buy it either, man.
I don't buy it.
What about the Jesus man, Tommy himself? He's like a spiritual. He said he found Jesus, I think they said, after he saved the baby.
It was a real throwaway line. He's like, oh yeah, Tommy found Jesus after he saved that woman's life. And Ash is like, are you kidding me? He saved her life? Guy with no hands, hello?
Yeah, like
I took the brunt of the blow.
He did.
He literally threw himself on the grenade.
Do you think that now, look, if you save somebody, do you really think that that's going to turn you to God? If that kid was so messed up already,
Yeah,
like it's not an overnight thing in my
it's
opinion.
it's a real like, come on. Yeah, that was my big question with Lenny, is that character change is way too much of a 180 to go from evil to Jesus in one
Like
fell
a
swoop.
minute.
Yeah.
I mean, he just got done burning a dog alive too, right?
And
Or
not only
whatever.
is he like a nice Christian boy, he's like, hey guys, hey, how you
Yeah.
do-" yeah, he's like,
It's like fake.
it's like, get out of my face, kind of nice.
Oh,
you
I
know?
agree.
Yeah.
So maybe like sum up this part, we're gonna hit this part of his life in a second, but why is he so upset? Obviously, he's got some injuries that he sustained in that blast. Lenny's with his girl that he loves. How much did you die inside when he tried to confess his love to her and she was just not having it?
Ugh.
Like, I couldn't watch it.
Dude, he's like, you think there's ever a chance that you and I could have been? and her answer made it worse. I
Yeah.
thought
It was bad.
he was holding the knife, and then she stuck it in him. Man,
She did.
with the whole. Yeah, I think about it sometimes, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know,
And
It's like,
then
come on.
and then she
Oh.
runs away and makes out with
Yeah.
Lenny immediately after.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
and,
is
they're probably talking about him.
which does it show that maybe she doesn't really care about him, because like in that moment, if somebody said something like that to you, I think you might be like, oh man, like I'm not gonna go make out with my boyfriend 2
Yeah.
seconds
You know what?
later. Like it
I
might
th-
mess you up.
I think her character just needs a protector. And
That's
then
true.
It was usually Ashton, but in this timeline, it was Lenny.
It was obvious, I guess, because of the trouble she had with
Yeah.
the father and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so how would you rate his life? Because he winds up trying to commit suicide in a
Yeah.
bathtub.
But everyone else's life is perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
But if he's truly
Oh,
the sacrifice,
oh.
shouldn't this be it?
Oh, here's the thing. We forgot the biggest part. This is the timeline where his mom gets cancer.
That's right. I forgot. So not
So-
perfect.
So that's really the scenario that makes him want to go back.
Like he was willing to accept the fact that
Yeah.
he was, injured. His
Before
friends were happy.
he tried to commit suicide before he learned that his mom has cancer. So, because he thought, what, everyone else's life here is great. I'm going to bow out. I did my part. I'm going to sacrifice myself. Blah blah blah. But then when his suicide attempt fails, and he's being Tommy brings him to his mom, or Lenny or whoever the hell drives him to his mom. He's like, oh, why are we visiting her at work? What's she doing? Because she worked as a nurse or whatever. He's like, oh, no. She's a patient. When you blew your hands up, she started chain smoking. Now she has lung cancer. And he's like, get my notebooks. I got to go back.
Get him out. So what is his rating here? I mean,
Oh, man. That's tough because his friends are great, but his mom has cancer and he has no hands and legs. Isn't that a 5?
it's probably better because more people's lives were better, I guess, than were worse.
Yeah.
But it's still not great. Like he's willing to live with the fact that he injured himself to protect that. Like the mom and the baby didn't die.
Yeah.
Tommy's still alive and he's got a good
And
life.
thriving. Yeah.
Right? And so is Kaylee and
Yeah.
Lenny.
Yeah.
So it's just him and his mom that are really in trouble. And I don't know what happened to his dad in this timeline, I guess, but
Yeah.
he was not in great shape, but he tried to kill himself in the tub too. And
4.
Tommy saved
I don't
him.
want to say 50-50, so I'll go 4.
Maybe a 4. All right.
But
But he
so
get-
it's the best to date 4.
The piece of information though that he found out in this timeline that was the shocker was that when you said it right, when she was talking about him, oh, could there be a chance? There was a critical piece of information that said that she stuck around with her dad because she wanted to be around Evan. Otherwise,
Yeah.
she'd have went to live with her mom. And if she went and
Yes.
lived with her mom, she'd have never been, molested, and maybe Tommy wouldn't have had a really bad life. And she lets up this information. So he's got this in the back of his
now he
head
knows.
now
he knows
moving
that.
forward. Like, hey, here's a piece. But
Mm.
he goes back and he says, you know what? We gotta go back. We gotta
Go
go
back.
do this thing. We gotta go do this. And what does he do in this one? I think this is almost the worst one of all of them.
Mm.
He goes back to the filming scene, and he tries to scare the dad with the dynamite. What the hell was he thinking?
Yeah, he tries to. Yeah, he strong his arms to the dad again. This time to try to get Tommy to be the nice guy.
Yep. Because Tommy was abused, right?
There's a struggle, and all of a sudden, Kaylee picks up the dynamite. Kablooey.
Sparkler.
Oh man,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it was like
Yeah.
kind of funny.
it was kind of funny.
Ooh, a sparkler. Like,
So long story long, this puts him in the mental institution. It should have been you, as Lenny would say. It
Yeah.
was him. It was him this time. So now he's in the mental institution. And as we wrap this up, let's get this thing going here.
and his journals don't
He
exist
has,
anymore.
and he has no journals, so he's screwed. Kaylee's dead. He's in the mental institution. I'm sure Tommy's screwed up.
Probably.
Even
if he's
worse.
not already dead himself, they're
Yeah.
probably all dead.
Yeah. Obviously, the mom's going through it. So how do we do this? How do we? There are no books. How do we do this?
He finds out about his dad who was screaming for a photo album that didn't exist. And this is where all of this stuff comes together and they realize what the hell happened. So he asks his mom for a home movie of himself. His brain is completely effed, by the way. He's got like 90% hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
His brain is just blood sloshing around
Yeah.
right now at this point. It's like a fish
Yeah.
tank of blood.
If he was a fighting game health meter, he's in danger
Yeah.
right now. He's on danger.
He's at round 3, danger,
Yeah.
flashing red. He asks for some home movies. What does he do?
So he picked up a trick he learned from his dad. He watched the home movies, goes to the scene where he first meets Kaylee, says something really mean to her. If you ever go near me, I'll kill you and your family. Something like that.
Why is that a good idea?
So
You
Kaylee
should
was like,
just
"Hey, it
say you
worked."
should go with your mom. I'll visit you.
It worked. So Kaylee runs scared. Eventually, when their parents split up, she goes with the mom because now she knows that, there is no Evan. And then he just assumes, everything must have worked out because we're at the end of the movie. We find out that he wakes up in college again and Lenny's his roommate and everybody's happy. And he's like, oh, nobody knows who Kaylee is and Tommy. So, yeah, we're good.
Then he burns his journals so he can't ever go back.
Yep. So he's like, well, whatever happened to them, I'm done.
Would you have
I
burned
did
them?
my best.
Would you burn him? Like, couldn't he
I
just
feel
say,
like
hey, you know what? Let me keep him a little
it's-
bit longer just in case?
It's kind of like a drug addict. It's like, you got to go cold turkey because I feel like you always want to tweak. He seems like a perfectionist,
Yeah.
He sees a hair out of place. He looks in the mirror and all of a sudden he sees a gray. He's like, everybody's happy, but I got that gray hair now. I
Yeah.
feel like I can fix that. Give my journals,
Well, so flash forward to, what is it, 2008 or something? I forgot what year it was, but it's 8 years later, and he's in New York City, and him and Kaylee have this moment on the street,
Real
Where they
rom-com
see each
moment.
other.
Yeah. They walk by each other.
which honestly was just not in the tone of this movie. It was just really weird and it was odd. And we're going to talk about all the alternate endings in a second, but did you like that ending? Did you feel like it was happy? And what was your
Yeah.
rating on this version of his life?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too thrilled with the ending, but it's fine. I'm glad that she didn't recognize him. She did the stop real quick, but she kept going, and he did the stop, and then he kept going. He obviously knows what she looks like because it's all in his brain. But it was fine. But yeah, this is the 10 out of 10 ending to where assume everybody lives happily ever after. We can't be together, but this is the best way to do it.
How many other people's lives were effed up in this timeline that we don't even know about?
Well, we don't know. I mean, the real scenario is that, after the dad lost his wife and his kids, what kind of rampage did he go on is the real evil question.
Well, let's talk about some of these endings. So if you haven't watched this movie, the ending is it's a very Josh Hartnett ending, honestly. Put Josh Hartnett in that, and it's I'm pretty sure that's how Wicker Park ended or something, isn't it?
It's a real
So-
Ryan Reynolds affair. Yeah.
It's a real Ryan Reynolds affair. So that's a good way to put it. So there's 3 alternate endings that were shot for the film, and then there's a director's cut ending, which is the 4th. We got to talk about in a second. But I want to ask you, of all of these, I'm going to ask you for each one, which one do you think you would have liked better?
Okay.
So the first ending, the theatrical release, like we talked about, shows them passing on the sidewalk. He sees her, he recognizes her, but they keep walking. There's sort of a moment where they recognize each other, but then they just go their separate ways. So that's the theatrical ending
Yep.
that we got. The second one is a quote happy ending, maybe an 11 out of 10, according to some, where it shows Evan and Kaylee stopping on the sidewalk. They cross paths and then they introduce themselves and he asks her out for a coffee.
No, can't. That's too happy. That's
It's too much. It doesn't
That's
fit
not
the
this
tone.
movie. That's not this movie.
This
that we
movie
just
has
watched.
child pornography,
Yeah.
people getting blown up, dog massacring. This is
Yeah.
not that
childhood
kind of movie.
trauma. Yeah.
It's just not right? So then
Yeah.
there's another one. So then there's an open-ended one, similar to the one that they had in the beginning where they pass each other, keep walking, except after this one, he turns and follows her. And this was what was used in the novelization of the film. So he kind of walks towards her. So instead of
Yeah.
them walking separate ways, instead of them introducing each other, he kind of walks towards her. So it's a little bit more kind of, oh, what happens?
Yeah. I don't like that one either. It's better than the second one. But like, here's my question. So imagine that plays out where he follows her and maybe he eventually like, oh, hey, we meet in Starbucks. What's going on? Hey, my name's Evan. When she eventually finds out that, hey, oh, you were my next door neighbor. You told me you were going to kill me and my family. All right, bye.
Yeah.
You know?
Remember when you said that to me when we were
Really? You
6?
said that to me? Yeah, that really scared me. Like for life.
I
I
wonder.
had nightmares for years.
He's like, surprise, I'm here to kill you.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Unless she would even remember it. I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like she's like in a nice, suit, right? She looks like she's got something going on, right? It's dangerous for him to ask her what's going on in her life because if it's bad, then like, is
True.
he going to live with this? He's got no journals,
Yeah. He probably shouldn't ask her.
He can't
should stay
fix
away.
it. He can't fix it, so he better stay away.
Well, what about this? So here's the director's cut. And I think this was on the DVD. So this
Yeah.
one, I'll take you back. So it says, with his brain damaged and he's aware that he's committed to a psychiatric facility where he's going to lose access to all of this stuff. He can't time travel. He makes a desperate attempt to change the timeline by watching the family video. So similar to what we saw.
Yeah.
But he goes back this time to right before his mom was about to give birth. So he goes to that moment and he strangles himself in the womb with his umbilical cord to
Ooh.
stop this generational curse from continuing. So apparently there was another scene in this version of the film where there's a psychic palm reader that tells him that he has no lifeline and he doesn't belong to this world, which is pretty dark. But that's in tone with this movie.
Yeah.
So then they show her as a child, choosing to live with her mother, and a montage suggests the other kids' lives have also become loving and less tragic. So it's almost like Ashton Kutcher and his dad and them are like this evil that's sort of messing up other people's lives.
Yeah.
That movie ending is way more in tone with what this movie is.
Yeah.
I know you can't do it, but it's the best
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. It makes sense within the world of the film,
It's the best one.
but like, honestly, I mean, talk about like have a test screening, and as soon as they show a baby strangling itself with an umbilical cord, all the no buzzers. Bzz, 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 I don't like this. I don't like this. This is bad. Nobody wants that.
I'm thinking about those lines with the, when they do like the political debates and the
Yeah.
line goes up and down.
Yeah, line goes up and down. It just
And you get that guy that's out there with a microphone asking
Yeah.
people, like,
Yeah.
so what did you think about that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. It's no buzzers.
I mean, as dark as the movie is, I mean, that's just next level. We don't need that.
I mean, it's definitely in tone with the movie. I think
Yeah.
it's a good call having it as a director's cut. So
Yeah.
if you had to pick the best ending, which one you're going with then?
Probably a theatrical release is probably the one, right?
Yeah,
Probably
it's
the
just-
one where it's like he obviously knows what she looks like, but he knows that I can't go down that road.
So you're
I'm
with
glad-
those studio
and
suits.
And it's the satisfaction that he fixed it. I did it. Screw you, Dad.
Yeah.
You're crazy, old man. I'm smart. I fixed it.
I don't mean to Billy Walsh you, but you're with the suits here, man. I'm going with whatever the directors
You
are.
want the black and white version?
MacGruber.
You want the black and white version?
I want the black and white
Yeah.
version. I'm curious what you guys think. If you think that was the best ending, or if you think the alternate ending. Have you guys seen this movie? And have you seen the alternate? I haven't watched the alternate ending, so I'm curious if any of the listeners have seen it. Send us an email, thelastrow@gmail.com, or tweet at us, or write on the socials. You can also leave a comment on the episode's page. And then, as always, if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe. Tell someone about the show. Send it to one of your friends. Let them know that you're enjoying it. And please consider leaving us a 5-star review on both Apple Podcasts and Podchaser and Spotify. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode on Thursday, August 18th. And on that note, see you guys later.
Sweet.
Woo! So, if you were in prison with those guys,
Yeah.
how far would you be willing to go?
Well, I'm not the toughest guy, but I feel like I'd fight. For a little bit.
Just shake the balls there.
But it's probably if you fight